What's going on, guys? This is John Zaccari, and today I want to talk to you about a game called Voez, which is set to be a launch title for the Nintendo Switch. The game, which was released last year for Apple and Android devices, has been making some headlines when the developer Rayark was asked how this touchpad-intensive title would work when the Switch is in TV mode. Simple, it won't. Thus confirming that functionality in TV mode isn't a requirement for Switch games, which obviously has erupted much debate in the gaming community. As with most things, I see some pros and cons with this, so let's break it down further. First and foremost, I don't see this as a huge surprise, as with the knowledge that the Switch pad sports a touchscreen that won't be accessible when docked, it kind of makes sense that some games that rely heavily on touch would only be playable while in portable mode. And this opens up similar games, perhaps also developed for smart devices, to be ported over to the Switch. I mean, the first game I thought of when the story mentioned touchscreen heavy games was Fruit Ninja. I remember that game was incredibly popular, at least during its time, and while people enjoyed it a lot with their touch devices, I doubt it'd be nearly as much fun with a controller. So you're opening up the system to more game options, which by itself is a great thing, especially for a Nintendo platform. Also, there's the fact that this isn't really a major release. While admittedly supporting some nice visuals, a touchscreen rhythm game is something I'd classify as more supplemental rather than a major release. Now, if Nintendo decided to come out and say, for instance, the upcoming Fire Emblem game for the Switch was only going to be playable in portable mode, then I'd be pretty pissed, as the main selling point of this system was to get the big experiences that you can play at home on your main TV or on the go. So I certainly wouldn't want to see the major releases supporting one or the other. Now, in terms of the negative attention some gamers are directing at Nintendo over this, I think it's partially deserved. Whether or not you could have deduced this as a possibility, it's kind of disheartening if you're someone who is planning on only, or at least primarily, using the system as a home console, to just learn now that this is a possibility, mere days from the system's actual release. Nintendo should have made the potential for some games only being playable and portable clear from the start. Now sure, you can label this as the big N being deceptive, but it may just be oversight because, as I said previously, there might not be many games that operate like this, and they'll likely be smaller, more indie type games. But that brings up an issue that has followed Nintendo systems around for a while now: confusion. Now that we know some games will only be playable in portable mode, those games will have to be clearly defined by Nintendo, perhaps being put in their own section on the eShop, and having clear labels on cases for any physical versions. So now you'll have games that are playable only while the system is portable, some that support motion controls, some that support individual Joy-Cons as controllers, etc., etc. While it's nice to have options, it can be annoying when you have to take so many into consideration when buying games. And finally, while I don't think this is too big of a deal, sure, perhaps handled a bit poorly, my biggest fear to come out of this would be if the opposite was made true. If there are some games that are only playable in portable mode, would it really be crazy if some games eventually required the system to be docked? The problem here is that these would likely be the bigger, more major releases, as the most likely reason for a game to require the system to be docked would be to need the boost potential from the system being in docked mode to run the game. This would just add more confusion and take away even more from the core selling point of the system. Not saying this will actually happen, but it's hard to not at least consider the possibility after the opposite has just been proven true. So yeah, for right now, I don't think there's too much to get upset about here. Sure, Nintendo could have been more upfront about this information, but as it stands, it seems like this will likely just mean more games being available than we would have had otherwise. but be sure that I will be keeping an eye on just what games only offer a portable option. And with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on the idea of some Switch games only allowing portable play in the comments. As always, I'm Zaccari, and thanks for watching.